Disruption technology. Let's come to this side, this side, this side. Second row. Good morning.
Good morning. I am S.S. Dhami. I am professor here in mechanical department. So I am the session co-chair. To start with, I welcome our session chair, Professor P.K. Tulsi. Our keynote speaker of today, Shri Amit Das, who is Director of Destruction Technologies. The speakers who will be presenting their papers in this session, the delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Before we start, I will request the paper presenters to please let me know who are all there for presenting the papers. I will speak out the names. We have first paper. We also have country paper presentation by delegates from Philippines, Myanmar and Sri Lanka. So everybody is there. Thank you. Then from India, we have Palvi Pahuja and Ruby Sharma. Palvi Pahuja and Ruby Sharma. Then we have Simarjeet Singh Bawa and Neeraj Gupta. They are done yesterday?
Yeah.
Then we have Neelam Vishnoi. Dr. Sunaina and Bhupinder Preet Bedi. Shilpi Bakiwala and Dr. Prerna Sharma. Okay, so let me briefly introduce you to the session chair and the keynote speaker of today's session. Our session chair is Dr. P.K. Tulsi. She is professor in education and educational management department of our institute. And she has done a lot of work in the field of educational management. She has done a lot of action research, carried out a number of studies which have proved to be very fruitful for the technical education system of India. She has presented a number of papers and international conferences. One we presented together so in Osaka, Japan. And she also has a number of papers in international journals and national journals. And then we have with us Mr. Amit Das, who is Director of Disruption Technologies Private Limited, Chandigarh. So Mr. Das, he has a unique career of an academician turned entrepreneur. He taught in Chitkara University and spent a decade in corporates. He has been leadership coach for some Fortune 500 companies. He is involved in IoT for solving problems. He has co-founded Disruption Technologies, which is India's first complete in-transit prognostic safety organization. Like every entrepreneur, Mr. Amit has come a long way from academic timeline, and he regrets and misses his occasional musings and direct interaction with students. So I'm happy that today he will have a chance to do that. So now I will hand over the mic to our session chair, Dr. Tulsi.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the session on Academy Industry Institute Interaction. And we have the keynote speaker with us, so not wasting much of the time, we'll request Mr. Amit to kindly present his views on the theme. Thank you.
Oh. Yeah. Am I audible? Yeah. Good morning to all of you. First of all, I would like you all, those who are sitting at the back, since it has become rather a workshop rather than a session, could you please come forward and sit somewhere here so that I can see your eyes? As a good teacher, I can see your eyes and understand. So good morning, Professor P.K. Tulsi, Dr. Dhami, Dr. Dhamija. I'm honored to have come over here and the August gathering once again. Honored. I feel really honored to come here and speak in front of you. Yes, as they have already pointed out, we've got some time which I have spent with academics. But first of all, let's make you all clap because it's morning time and I just felt that there should be an icebreaker. So there's a congratulatory part. You've done a fantastic job as teachers and teachers trainers in India. So I'll restrict my thought processes within India, forgive my international community here, but probably it might apply to some of your countries, neighboring countries. So in India, we have achieved a lot in terms of, people are getting employed, people are getting skills, things are moving upward. So once again, we clap to you community, people who are doing it. Once again, it's a wonderful scenario here. Like we call it in Hindi, Daksh Yagya. A lot of things are happening in the skill spectrum. The government is doing wonderful job. You guys are doing wonderful job. Private sector is doing wonderful job. Non-governmental sectors are also pitched in. So wherever I look around today, when I look around in India, I figure out there is one skill thing happening. Like I remember in 80s, when I was young, I still am young, but when I was younger, we had STD booths mushrooming all around in India. Those who are old enough to remember that. Today, when you look around in India, you'll find a skill shop. be it driven by the initiatives of the government, but you will always find a skill shop in every nook and corner. Now, for sure. So people are saying that a lot of things are happening. Now, here is the gap. So if you look at industry, there's huge requirement of people. I have not shared the source here. The source is Skill India report by Government of India and all these organizations working together. So you look at it, a country of 1.35 billion people has a huge skill gap. I've worked for corporates before venturing into industry, my own thing. Believe me, I've worked as a leadership coach, and whatever I've done in my capacity, we figured out that we never found good people in the industry. Our leaders always complained that where the hell are the people? Are they skilled people? So my being a trainer, my job was to look into their attitude and train them, right? So we figured out that in spite of the fact that there is huge skill yagga is the word I'm using, in India, when it comes to actual industry perspective, we don't have the right kind of people. So I'll, in the course of the discussion, I'll try to see, we will actually discuss how it happens and what is the way forward. So any guesses? What is the common among these people?
All are in IT, computer.
All are, sorry?
All are in computer IT. Entrepreneurs.
All are entrepreneurs. Good. Okay, anything else? I would like to have it at a workshop rather than a, one-sided talk.
We have only 20 to 25 minutes.
So I'll figure it out in 25 minutes. All right. So 25 minutes, we'll be able to do it. Right? What is common among these people?
Technology-based.
Wonderful. Anything else?
Risk taker.
Good. I mean, that is always common among the entrepreneurs, but there is something else also. Wonderful. They're all first generation. They don't have an inheritance of dynasties that we have in our country. Who said that? Oh, ma'am, I don't have a chocolate, but clap for you. Apart from this guy, Satya Nadella, no, not a single guy is a graduate. Jack Ma was? Huh? I missed out.
I met him.
You met him. Wonderful. So they're not much educated. That was my understanding.
Anyway,
Most of them are not graduate. Technocrats. So that's very interesting insight. I didn't know about Jack Ma. Thanks for correcting me. I read somewhere. Google is always misinformation.
He's going back from May again to teaching.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah,
Yes,
because
good.
they quit it.
So if I look at these big ones, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Dorsey, Zuckerberg, and many others, they're not educated much as far as traditional degrees are concerned, right? So they're successful. They have done a wonderful job, transformed the world economy. So that takes me to an understanding and a thin layer between the difference between what we say a self-employed and an entrepreneur. In fact, to be very honest, I call it self-driven employment. If you look around, since you have come all across from the world and you have seen Chandigarh, if you go to the outskirts of Chandigarh, the outskirts of Chandigarh, you will find self-driven employment all across. No skill required. Nobody helps them. No government is working, but you will find, pardon my word, Rajma Chawal Wala, the other guy, everybody is doing something or the other. These are all self-driven employed people. They don't need a motivation, though they don't need a government. They definitely need, that's why we are here. But in spite of the fact that all policies and executions are happening, these are the people who are self-driven and they're doing it. There's an entrepreneur who are encashing it. I have an example of Ola, Uber, these food delivery, organizations in our country like Zomato, Swiggy. What is common in all these organizations? Can someone tell me? They're aggregators, fair enough. There is an entrepreneur who has started this initiative. He has become rich. He is becoming richer every day. But these guys are blue-collared, self-employed people. They won't get much, anything more than 12 to 15,000. What I'm trying to say is, these are all self-employed people. The driver, the guy who takes you food at 11:30 at night. The question is, I think, from a guy who has spent some time teaching, training, can we move these people from a blue-collared work, which has a stagnation? I want to use this word, stagnation. Stagflation can be a word for economics, right? Now, coming back to this, look at it. What is the number of these people working in our country? It's almost half of the labor force is in our unorganized sector. Almost half. That means if you are in an industry, organized sector, you have PF, gratuity, you have everything else. The moment you are self-driven employed, let me use this word once again, there are thousands of skills programs all around in your country. But to survive, if I may use Darwin, you have to fight and you have to run a Rajma Chawal shop. Now, it is a compulsion. It is not a choice for most of them. Let me be very honest. It's not a choice. So I have written in India, shining versus left behind blue collar skills. I call it left behind blue collar skills because these are the most of the people who are being exploited in our system. Any system for that matter, I don't know about other countries. Now, what can we do about it? Is there anything that we can do about it? And that can benefit the industry to begin with, the country to, definitely. So, there are standard benchmark things, standard practice, like you have to give access to easy capital, access to good quality training. You have to have, enabling policy. We all know that. We have actually discussed all these things over years without much happening. But I just have a proposal, one word, right? Can we have skills training, easy capital, business incubation, and market access under the same roof? I want to repeat this sentence because some of the ideas you might find it very hackneyed, you might find it not very good. Okay, what is he saying? Simply put, you are a skill training provider, a government institution for that matter. You have hundreds of people who are coming. I know I met a lot of people in recent. We had there was a thing called Tycon, in this entrepreneur, and where we've been invited over. I met so many skill initiatives there from the startups who train people, who engage people from the very beginning. I'll come to that. In fact, I get inspired by those initiatives that are happening in the private space. But I'm coming back to this question. Is it possible to have a one-stop shop for someone who's interested to be an entrepreneur at the unorganized level? I'll come to that. Okay, once again, India, for the international delegates, localites know that. We have historically, we have a very rigid social structure of work division. In fact, the Hindu caste system, which we call it quote unquote, is based on work division. So 3,000 castes, 25,000 subcastes, and it has been happening for 3,000 years. A cobbler's son picks up cobbling skills at the age of 12 from the father. He becomes a cobbler. There is no social stigma into it. They hone up their skills, spruce up their skills, and they become better one. They serve the society, serve the country, and earn money. Simple, right? That has been happening in our society for years. But suddenly, the British education came over to make babus. People who think like them and people who behave like them in black, brown colors, right, in India. And suddenly, a very nice thing came up, which is prevalent among the students even today. It is what I call it social untouchability of blue-collar jobs. You go to a college, courtesy to my friends, I've been invited by a lot of people in the colleges and there. And I figure out that the students are looking for only a creamy white collar jobs. They're not interested in blue collar jobs because there is a social, I won't say stigma, but this is an attitudinal issue that comes from society. How many of mothers here? One, two. You have daughters? Will you get your daughters married to an entrepreneur, not a government servant? Tell me. How many of you want? So that's a reality, let's face it. The moment girls start marrying entrepreneurs, not successful ones though, right? Why Gujarati? Is there any Gujarati sitting here? Gujarat is a province where Mr. Narendra Modi comes from. So is there any Gujarati sitting here? No? So I can happily say that. So we call them Gujaratis. Have a nice thing, even if you are not educated, even if you're not successful, the in-law will definitely give daughters to those people. Why? Because they believe in the potential of business. It doesn't happen in the rest of the country. So what I'm trying to get to is this untouchability of blue collar among students. So what exactly is happening? This city that you are in right now, got around 34 colleges. I don't know. Around. I'm not sure. I haven't had the time to, because this is February and we are into selling things. So we're occupied. But then I didn't delve deep into data. But there are hundreds of thousands of people I've met in colleges who are pursuing useless degrees in India. Government colleges, subsidized. They don't have to pay much for the degree, and they're pursuing them. Everybody knows that. So, if you look at this, that historically the shift, I have learned a skill from my father. Who has learned that skill from his father? From this situation, this country has come to a space where the Britishers taught us something. I don't know whether it's good or bad, but then after the Britishers have taught us, suddenly there is a change in the skilling process. People do not want certain jobs. There is a social, economic, I wouldn't say political, but then there are. So I have a suggestion. I was actually, what happens, the mason, the cobbler, odd job people. You need them to run a house, do we? And whenever you need them, they disappear. I mean, I'm sure about India. I don't know about other countries. But this is what happens in India, because the odd job guy is primarily sitting under the tree doing a work. Suddenly, one day, when you need this guy, the plumber, the other guy, and if you don't have his number saved with technology, you will not find the right guy. How many of you had this experience? Can you just raise your hand and tell me? Wonderful, sir. So people are blessed enough not to have this experience. I've had it many, many times. In fact, today in the morning. So coming back to this particular issue, can we think of, I'm just giving a radical thing, think of a co-working space in the markets that we have where they can sit and work so that we can give certain dignity to the work that they are doing. So now coming to what industry wants. I mean, I don't know. I cannot speak for an industry, but I can always speak my mind, right? So, a lot of things are happening. A lot of things are happening, and it's very difficult to measure what is unemployed and what is self-employed, because if I quit my job at 45 and then start my own venture, and the gap that I actually sit idle could be an unemployed also, or probably PhD holders, it happens in India, applying for peon's job is also, I don't know, is disguised employment. So, I mean, I'm so impressed with some people, I mean, sitting here, these countries, Taiwan, is there anyone from Taiwan? Malaysia? So impressed when I've not had much time to delve deep into the data. But when I practically see what is happening in your countries and not happening in our country, for example, I deal with certain electronic items, and 80% of those items are imported from these countries in India. So there is no community mechanism in our country to facilitate and benchmark quality so that people can produce at home, which is happening in some of your countries. So coming to the work life and how we can probably change the whole concept of skilling. See, things are changing very rapid space in the corporate world. What was relevant 6 months ago, today it is not relevant anymore. There are companies which promote work whenever, wherever. It's like you can work from anywhere in the country, world, not in country. There's a DuckDuckGo, competitor of Google. They promote you can be in Venezuela or Nepal for that matter and never meet your boss and still work for that company. There are companies, Amazon, for example, they have started off the business development process from home. It's like they train you and they send you back to your place. And then you become an advisor for a customer. And I have pleasant experience with them. So there are companies also where you can take 48 hours off in a week, whenever you want to. So there are things happening in a rapid space. My question is, how are we? Okay, well, there's something interesting that I have just put in today in the morning. You know what? In China, this is, you might be able to tell me in a better manner. I've read this Chinese government pursue students who are studying in the Western universities to come back. They host lunches and dinners there and say, please come back. I'll give you funding. I'll give you 10 years tax holiday. I'll give you this. I give you that. I'll even recruit people for you if you want to. Can you just work for me? Can you just start doing it? So, I mean, I can't even imagine this thing happening in our country. So this is how I just want to, I know I have less time, so I'm just restricting the whole idea. So I experimented, it's better to prove things, demonstrate things than talking in front of an audience. So there was a gap in my job. I quit a job to change the skill scenario and started a skill organization, which did not work, though I came to a different organization. But when we started, I had a plan. We had a plan. I had a few corporate guys with me who are primarily trainers and executive coach kind of people who have been there and done things and realized that we have to go back to the colleges and do some backward integration. Backward integration is go there, train them on the skills and make them future ready. Talk to the company who we have a network and place those guys. Very simple. So when we went there, a lot of people are doing it. There's nothing new in it. But when you went there, we figured out that there is a huge gap, huge challenge in what we perceive to be true and what truth actually is. We figured out that there is huge attitude issue in the final year students. Sorry to say, students. They only want creamy, de la creamy, white layer jobs because the society has problems. I was telling Sir a couple of minutes ago that we recruit auto electricians who go and install things. Recently, there was a policy change by the government of India. There would be huge demand of auto electricians in our country. Huge one. Already there is a shortage. So there would be people will be fighting to hire people, auto electricians. How many of them are skilled by people here? I doubt. Why? As a person who has experienced things, might be able to tell you. So what we did, we tried to catch them young. That sounds good. Catch them young is what we realized after experimenting and getting a lot of slaps on our faces. We realized that the moment a child completes +2, that is 12th in our system in India, the child has a lot of dreams. But the moment he lands up to a college and spends 2 years there doing nothing, reading all odd syllabi which has nothing to do with their practical jobs, they divert their energies into something else. Right? So we thought of catching them young. So we had a process. We started off with this. We did some, psychometric assessment to begin with to understand their needs and wants and desires, separate things, and then met some work groups and groomed them. The best thing that happened there is we wanted them to earn from the word go, because the moment you make a student earn money, he will actually listen to you. That's what we have realized. I don't have the data-driven, because you are all academicians. I should have given you data-driven things, but forgive me for that. Just to give you a fleeting understanding of what exactly can be done within the scenario, is the moment you groom them on certain skills, be it soft skills for economic mobility, be it say for example hard skills of sales and marketing or automobile engineering for that matter, simple ones, not the higher ones, or probably financial skills to become a mutual fund advisor, whatever, or part-time jobs, thousands are available. They start earning money, they put their energies into the right direction. And to be very honest, I have a work group in my organization where people are all across India and working for me, right even today. So from those teams, I have picked up one work group, primarily a software people, who are all across India and working. So, so I term the whole idea is skilling, unskilling, and reskilling. It has been inspired by Sam Pitroda's speech. I actually been very fortunate to listen to him in Punjab University. He said, the 21st century learned, educated people won't be people who can read and write. Those are the people who can probably learn, unlearn, and relearn in a lightning speed. So for skilling, I felt that this is probably the mantra of the time. You have to skill, probably unskill, that is, take things that they're in their minds, take things out, and then probably reskill them with something relevant. So I've written something called Politics of Inaction, Dal Roti. This is what I've experienced in Kolkata. We have a team of people who are working there. So I've seen people are so happy with, say, gross income, less than what average he should be. The lack of aspiration is something that we figured out among young generation. Could be cultural issues. Now, this cultural stigma of blue collar is something that I have witnessed all over India, wherever we've been to, apart from few parts of it. So once again, this is the focus area of the discussion today. If you could reskill people who are in unorganized sector, if you could reskill people who are in unorganized sector, if you could provide them with under one roof, once again, the market access, the incubation, how to go to the market, the skills of negotiation, the skills of getting easy access to the capital, working capital, you can transform people, not only at the entry level, but the mid-career level, which is a big concern area, I'm telling you. People work for 2-3 years and then leave jobs. So some people believe that the country will grow. Jobless growth is possible because there is something called trickle-down theory. As I told you, entrepreneurs are getting richer. I hope I will become one day richer. And then self-employed people, they just survive. They just survive. They keep on surviving. And since you have a big country with huge population, nobody bothers because you have given them employment. You've given them 14,000. Good. There's a lot of things that we cannot control, right? A lot of things. Big, huge country. So I've got some, you can say, radical ideas. You might reject them, but I am here to speak. So, this is what I have seen in my experience. Vocational courses that you promote should be the order of the day. If you look back at the Western countries, I tend to go, the industrial revolution in the West, primarily fostered, I don't use this foster, inspired by the main labor force in the industrial revolution. Am I out of time? I'll take it in 2 minutes. Industrial revolution that happened in the West primarily took place by the youngsters. Do you know that the Western countries today shout about child labor? They employed child labor, mostly in factories, if you are aware of it, right? So what I'm trying to say is that you have to reach out. We all have to reach out, the industry, the academia, reach out to probably, if you could think of, say, a campaign where you go to the schools and tell them, boss, there is something called vocational education. You can go to the company and right away after +2 start earning money. At the same time, have you pursue your degree. If you go, there's a college in Chandigarh called SD College. I have a friend who was a faculty there. I was asking him while making this PPT yesterday, how many students have enrolled in your vocational course? Can anyone guess? So less than 10%. But vocational course is something that is very, very important because after +2, you have energy to learn some new skills. That is the time. If you pursue a degree and at the same time you start earning money, nothing like that. So under one roof solution is something that I have been promoting. I've been talking to people on that. I want a campaign to be launched, if it is possible, in schools to promote entrepreneurship, which is not happening. Mid-career reskilling, which is something very important. People work for 2-3 years and then suddenly they figure out that they don't have skills to compete. They come out of it. And then they become Ola driver, Uber driver, Zomato boy. Thousands of companies are coming. So once again, entrepreneurs are getting richer. Why can't we think of reskilling program for mid-career people and campaign it? I mean, just an idea. How to take these things out of social stigma? Because it only happens in India, primarily. I might starve, but I won't go and sell Rajma Chawal. Right? It doesn't happen in some of the countries, right? Okay, once again, I have to end it up. So it's a huge country with huge problems. And one set of solution, I don't think might fit in the bill. Maybe a few ideas could transform the whole thing. Thank you. Any questions? No questions, then I think I have to sum it up.
We will have 10 minutes at the end for the question.
All right. So I'll sit here and wait. Thank you. Yeah, you have questions. I've planned to spend half of the day here. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
So I will request Dr. S.K. Damija, the coordinator of this conference, to please express your gratitude to the keynote.
How are you?
I think better late than never,
No. Thanks a lot.
Okay, sir. First is
And for the session chair also, please. We will honor the keynote speaker, please.
So I think keeping in mind the time which is available, we have 3 country presentations now. So I'll request the presenters to be very brief, 15 minutes each, if you can take and finish, please. So we welcome the next, the delegate from the Philippines to make the presentation.
Slideshow. Okay. Dr. Ram, let me mention name. Dr. S.K. Dameja. Our keynote speaker, Mr. Amidas, Professor Tulsi, and Dr. Dam. My co-delegates, faculties and teachers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am Engineer Hilda Ranido, and I work for the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, which is a government agency taking charge of the Tibet system in the Philippines. My companion is also working with the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority in one of our TESDA training institution.
And I'm Jaime Calatan, same with TESDA, the same agency.
You know, my country is very famous, not only for its tourist destinations, but also because we are producing beauty titleists. One is Miss Catriona Gray, the reigning Miss Universe last year, which hails from my province, the Albay. And we also produce skilled workers for many countries because the government has been investing so much for the development of the skills and training of this workforce. Now, if we'll take a look at our country profile, the location it's located in the Southern Asia between the Philippine Sea and the southeast of Vietnam. We have, I think you can just Google the other data. This is our top tourist destination. We have the Chocolate Hills, the Boracay Island, and the others. Now, let's go back to my presentation. My paper is entitled The Skill Development Scenario in Tibet, the Philippine Experience, because skills development is a continuing process in the Philippines, and you will only experience it if you try to learn a skill. Now, this is TESDA's vision is as the transformational leader in the technical education and skills development of the Philippine workforce. It has its mandate to set directions, promulgates the relevant standards, and implements programs geared towards quality and assured and inclusive technical education and skills development and certification system. It also has goals to promote and strengthen the quality of technical education and skills development to attain its international competitiveness. Now, we have the incumbent president, President Rodrigo Duterte, wherein he instituted in his Philippine Development Plan the human capital is including health and education system and math skills and training. This is his 10-point socio-economic agenda. And under his term, he appointed the former Secretary Mamon Chong, who instituted the two-pronged strategy of TESDA in poverty reduction. So the Tibet provision in the Philippines is provided by 3,625 private institutions and 341 public institutions. We have for the training delivery modes, which are institution-based training, wherein the training is done formally in public and private institutions. We also have the community-based training program, wherein trainings are informally done in partnership with LDUs and other stakeholders. And we also have the enterprise-based training program and the DTS training program, which is in partnership with industries. Now we also have 35,887 trainers and 16,802 warm bodies all over the country. Now, this is the potential Tibat clientele in the Philippines. We have about 45,785,027, which is perceived to be the target clients that should be trained by TESDA. Now, this is the Tibet performance of TESDA for the past years. This is the enrollment which has grown from 2010 to 2016. So generally, the Philippine Tibet sector has been experiencing a healthy growth, but while it receives only 1% of gross domestic product in government funding support, TESDA's budget more than doubled in 2012 to 2016. The government has already been investing funds to boost its enrollment and produce positive results with the average employment rate of Tibet graduates, with scholarship posting higher than the average employment rate for all Tibet graduates. Tibet providers are likewise enjoying unprecedented growth. In 2016, there were already 4,075 private and public institutions, compared to only in 3,000 in 2007. Between 2010 and 2016, institution-based training had recorded 1,023 million enrollees, followed by community-based training with 824,000 enrolled graduates. The growth in enrollment was funded by community-based or barangay-oriented programs, while the enterprise-based training was the most successful training modality in terms of employment. But this training modality has not gained traction, with enrollees only reaching, so it's a little bit lower. Further, Tibet is gaining more attention as the education sector evolves and develops more sophistication, starting with the K-12 program in the Department of Education and onto international referencing initiatives and agreements, like the Asian qualification frameworks and other mutual recognition systems. These are creating opportunities to expand Tibet capacity and performance, both as an education infrastructure and a human capital development platform. Tibet has also found a place in certain subsectors of the labor and employment market. Today, Tibet graduates are successfully employed in such sectors as tourism, ICT, health, social, community, and other services, electronics, metals, and engineering. The growth of certain industries like tourism and construction and ICT is certainly benefiting Tibet, as these industries require more skilled workers. So those are the facts and data of the Tibet performance of the Philippines from 2010 to 2016. So this is the budgetary appropriation of the Philippine education, wherein the lowest budget is in TESDA. So this is also the number of total persons assessed and certified and certification rate, which is also one of the functions of TESDA in order to certify the workers after the training. This is the data gathered, which depicts the employability of the graduates by sex by 2009 to 2014. This is the top sectors with most employed Tibet graduates, wherein the top most sector is the tourism. It is followed by ICT. It is followed by health, social, community, and development services, and followed by electronics. Now, entrepreneurship training in the Philippines. Enterprise development in the context of competitiveness in the Philippines not only entails the ability to produce products that can be accepted globally, but also the level of support given to enterprises to help then produce, innovate, and gain market access. While relatively mature and free enterprise development in the Philippines is beset with critical challenges, these challenges are found within the context of pillars of identified by the United Nations Development Program in its report, Unleashing Entrepreneurship, Rule of Law, Physical and Social Infrastructures, Domestic Macro Environment and Global Macro Environment and Level Playing Field, Access to Financing and Access to Skill Development and Knowledge. If the challenges remain unresolved, gaps in enterprise development have the potential to hurt the country's competitiveness and ability to effectively function within the global production networks. And it's not only TESDA conducting the training, but there are also other government agencies are involved in the training, like the Department of Labor and Employment, the Department of Science and Technology, the Department of Trade and Industry, the Department of Agrarian Reform, and the Department of Information and Communications Technology, and the Department of Social Welfare and Development. These are the challenges of the Tibet sector. First, we have the fourth industrial revolution. The fourth industrial revolution is seen as 18.2 million jobs nationwide may be affected by automation. Low-skilled workers, women, youth, less educated, more likely to be affected. Higher demand for workers with strong technical skills in science, technology, and mathematics or STEM background. And 1:3 desired core skill sets in the year 2020 are not considered crucial today. So the future jobs over the next years will be digital, tailor, etc. So that is one challenge. And the second challenge is the huge demands for a skilled workforce. In large employment industries, that is in the next 6 years, 6 million quality workers are needed by the industries that are forecasted to generate large employment markets. This will be an IT BPO to hire at least 1.8 million workers, tourism at least 1.56 million, construction 1.3 million, and along transport storage to hire 588,000. And that is the huge skilled workers along these sectors. And the last challenge is excluded and the left behind, which means addressing the Filipino workforce excluded and left behind. The challenge is on how to serve the unserved and the underserved. The entire government should therefore coordinate and collaborate for partnerships with the civil society and business sector and share resources, expertise, and networks. Now, these are also the strengths and weaknesses of the sector. We have a rapid growth in Tibet providers from 3,000 to 3,100 citizens in 2017. We already have an increased budget allocation. Tibet has successful certain subsectors of the employment market. It has a total training of 264 training regulations developed. It has already developed a quality assurance process of certifying Tibet trainees through the Philippine Tibet Trainees Qualification. It's thick. It sticks. It sticks. It sticks. It sticks. It stopped working. Anyway, I have several slides to show. So in order to address these challenges,
you can wind up because it's going to be
yeah.
time.
So it takes. Yeah. So these are the recommended strategies: provide quality technical education skills development certification for global competitiveness, and etc. So in conclusion, and these are also the developed policies formulated by the government. So we have this conclusion: the development of competencies of the Filipino workforce through technical through the debate has been widely acknowledged as a vital component towards achieving the country's economic and social development. It is a tool that means to contend with the challenges that confront the workforce. It equips individuals with the necessary competencies. It prepares them to become competitive and employable in both the international and domestic labor market. It also improves the chances of an individual to gain access to relevant employment, become economically productive, and rise above poverty and marginalization. Thus, workforce development for employability and productivity is an imperative given the challenge posed by the changing nature of employment, markets, technology, and even the demographic of different countries. So in relatively, entrepreneurship is more than just an economic term. It is a way of thinking, creating jobs, empowering people, and giving individuals access to better lives for themselves and their children is a wonderful gift. Today, it has become a dynamic and developing part of the economy, promoting inclusive growth. Entrepreneurship is a way of inspiring creative individuals to pursue opportunities despite its risks. In closing, the challenge for countries like the Philippines is to accelerate both the political and economic leadership that can master social reforms through entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs have the power to achieve great things. Entrepreneurs will emerge as the well-oiled wheels that will keep the economy going and the society efficiently run. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gilda Ranito, for the presentation on the TBT system in Philippines. Now I'll invite the next speaker from Myanmar.
Good morning, Professor B.K. Tisu, Dr. S.S. Tamar, and Mr. M.S. Des, and national delegated, international delegated, my professors and TGR. Good morning. My name is Miu Meu. I come from Myanmar. Myanmar is situated in Southeast Asia. And areas of 6,700 over 6,700 kilometer. Population is 51 millions in Myanmar. Capital city is Naypyidaw. Myanmar neighborhood countries are Bangladesh, India, China, Laos, and Thailand. And in Myanmar, 135 artists. My presentation title is Skill Training for Departments of Technical Vocational Education and Training. Our state councillor said that TVET education should not be a second-class education. We need first-class TVET system to improve the living standard of our citizens. So, provisions of TVET sector, Departments of Technical Vocational Education and Training is Pocket Departments of TVET sector in Myanmar, and numbers of 23 GDHS government technical institutes and 34 numbers of government technical high school, one and English language professional school, now one numbers of Singapore Myanmar vocational trainees and one numbers of Yaoshua vocational training institutes in Myanmar. Visions of TVET to enhance the opportunity for even citizens to learn the vocational education, to support the employment opportunity and to apply for rising the individual income. And number three, the numbers of skilled workers to make contribution to the local progress development. Course offers in GDNs and GDHS. GDI, in GDI, and GDI has 3-year diploma course. Course offers in GDIs are civil, electrical power, electronic, mechanical, and information technology. Enhanced level GDI has enhanced levels of GDI is students who has passed matriculation exam. Course offers in GDHS. GDHS has 2-year certification course. The course offers in GDHS, building technology, refrigeration and air conditioning technology, auto mechanic technology, electronic technology, electrical technology, machining technology, material processing technology, information technology. Enhanced levels of GDHS is students who has passed in grade 9 in 2018 to 2019, and the student enrollments in GDI slide. 2018 to 2019, the student enrollments in GDHS slide. Strategies of GDV develops to change enrollment policy, provisions of non-formal course, ensuring access for disadvantages. Cooperate with local industry regarding diverse planning, implementation, assessment. Providing practical skill trainings and assessments in cooperation with local industry. Provision further training schools for employee of local industry. Strategies of diverse and facilitate adapt curriculum according to local demand. Provisions of strict program, domestic place, and other incentive allowing in inter in interrupts participations in diverse program. Recognition of non-formal and bridge schools along further training, development of humans and financial resources. Polytechnic centers and DDVE MOE has already announced to open Polytechnic Center in yearly GDHS and GDI on 20 May 2015. And this slide is Polytechnic Centers. International cooperations as moral and cooperation with Singapore government to establish Singapore Myanmar Vocational Institute SNBDI, responsible of Singapore government are renovations or building of the institute, installing and commission all necessary machinery, trainings, equipments, and furniture, setting up training facility to provide instructions of training course, covering the recruiting course of SMBDI for periods of 3 years from delegate of Singapore MOU. And this slide is international cooperation as moral 2. Now, international cooperation as moral 3.3, management of SMBDI and entrance level is SMBDI student who has passed with matriculation exam, course duration with 6 months. And course offer in SMBDI, hospital and tourism, electrical skills and electronic, facility of management, and engineering service. Cooperation, international cooperations are these slides and following conclusion. GDIs, GDHS and TVS and MOE are offer formal, long-term and non-formal short-term course, short-term vocational trainings are and not only technical course but also vocational areas are TVET. TVET is training to cooperate with other TVET related ministry and international organization for formal and non-formal vocational training to promote TVET sector in Myanmar and to develop the TVET master of Myanmar. Thank you for kind attention.
Thank you very much for a very crisp presentation from Myanmar. Now I'll request the delegate from Sri Lanka to come over and make the presentation.
Isn't it on the desktop itself?
No, no. Good morning. I am Preet Vijay Singh, Director Technical Education in Sri Lanka. My other partners are Miss Nilanthi from our ministry and Miss Kumari from Anamadu Technical College. She is the principal. This presentation we arranged two parts. One is country profile, then other is youth for self-employment in Sri Lanka. First, I present the country profile. Then my friend Nilanthi present the other part. I born on there is Namaste. Our country is located in the nearby India. Total area is the country is 6,500, 6,561 square kilometer, divided 9 provinces. In cultural heritages are Red Mosque in Colombo, Sripada in Ratnapura, Sigiri in Dambulla, Dalada Mariga in Kandy, Nallur Koil in Jaffna, in Odessa, in Ghanaian dance in also there. Then major cities, our major commercial town is Colombo. It is population density is 20,405 people per square kilometer. Population is 10.5 million. Then the second major city is Kandy. Population density is 709. Capital. It is the capital of the central province. Population is 7.5 million. Then the third one is Galle. It is capital of the southern province. Population is 6.5 million. The other is the Jaffna, capital of the northern province. Population is 5.8 million. Our tourism attraction in Sri Lanka, Kandy Perahara, Sigiriya Rock posters, and Pinnal Elephant projects, Yala National Park, Coral Garden in Hikkadua, Dambulla Cave Temple, Arugambe Bay, then Peradini Botanical Garden, then Nuara Vava, then Dalada Maliga. Then that's a Nuara area. In the other is Kataragama Kirivera, and this is the Shangri Hotel in Hambantota, and that is Trincomalee. The other is Trincomalee.
our GDP contribute 60% in service sector. The wholesale and retail trade 20%, and transport and communication 14%, tourism 11%, banking sector as real estate 11%. Then the industrial sector, manufacturing and business 17%, and the construction industry 10%. Mine electricity 3% and 2% respectively. The agriculture sector, fisheries industry 4%, tea export 3%, rice cultivation 5%. In our population is 22.4 million. Our religions are Buddhism 70%, Hinduism 12%, and Islamic 10%, and Christianity 7%, and others are 1%. Languages speak Sinhalese 74%, Tamilians 25%, and others are 1%. That's the end of my part. Then Nilanti present the other part.
Good morning, everyone. Our topic is training of youth for self-employment. The outline is introduction of TVET sector, policy framework of youth employment, background of a SEPI loan scheme, vocational training for SEPI scheme, and SEPI loan scheme phase 2, operational issues of SEPI scheme. Our vision is skilled labor force. Our ministry mission is to develop a human resource base through provision of high quality and relevant technical and vocational training for the world of world. Our target group in our country, school leavers, school dropouts, unemployment youth, physically handicapped youth, socio-economically vulnerable group, entrepreneurs, industrial employees, traditional workers, and academic and professionals. Our trust areas, technical and vocational training, entrepreneurship and soft skill development, promote public-private partnership in technical and vocational training, quality assurance, capacity building in trainers, social marketing in TVET, and career guidance and counseling. Under the ministry, the 7 institute for the TVET sector, Tertiary and Vocational Education Commission is a apex body, TVC, DTT, Department of Technical Education and Training, University of Vocational Technology, Univatech, National Apprenticeship and Industrial Training Authority, NITA, Sri Lanka Vocational Training Authority, Ceylon German Technical Training Institute, CGTTI, Ocean University, Green University NSBM, National Institute of Business Management, Sri Lanka Institute of Printing and Skill Development Fund. Our training networks are 377 on total. TVET sectors, we got 27 sectors: agriculture, art and media, automobile, building, constructions, and those are the sectors. Food and technology and wood related textiles, garment, and 27 in others. Scope of vocational education in Sri Lanka. If we think in 2003 enrollment in admission for grade 3, uh, 326,000. This before the O level, the dropouts 57,000. Student who face O level 2013, 20 lakhs, 2 lakhs and 69,000. The passed to A level in 2016. Student who acquired higher education at local and foreign university, 1 lakh and 31,000. But we are focusing our target group that dropouts unskilled labor 58,400 and altogether 2 lakhs and 15,000. Sri Lanka, we introduced NVQ level system. 1 to 4 is a certificate level, 5, 6 in diploma and 7 for degree level. Policy framework for youth employment in Sri Lanka. National Youth Service Council introduced in 1969. National Youth Corps introduced in 2003. Formulation of youth document for youth in 2004. 7 and establishment of National Youth Policy in 2014. Other poverty alleviation program in Samuditi, Gamidiriya, Gram Shakti, Enterprise Sri Lanka. But new government policies Vision 2025 enrich Sri Lanka. There is some gap. The people we have to talk about youth entrepreneurship and their how to be developed. The Skill Development Ministry introduced is at a SEPI loan in 2003 to 2006. The contribution, the organization for the SEPI scheme, VTA 68, NITTTR 13, and DTT 12, and National Youth Service Council 8, and others 8%. A type of training courses followed, we are surveyed by Maga Institute. The most wanted course as beauty culture is 39%. Dress making from the VTA, and NITA is dressmaking 15%, and DTT 15% for dressmaking. The choices of gender-wise, what course the student most liked, the male 21% into information, the female also 45%. Marine and natural resources are there, and languages, office management, textiles. In 2003 to 2005-6, we surveyed the vocation for which they received training. Beauty culture is 36, dressmaking 10%, other 27 categories are there. SEPI loan schemes phase 2, we introduced in 2016 to 2019. The Financial Institute of Bank of Ceylon, People's Bank, Regional Development Bank, Commercial Bank, at National Bank, Sampath, Sanasan, HDFC. The eligible institute, TVC, DTT, NITA, BTA, SLIPN, and YSC. The area we focus for all island. The loan scheme is 7%, and maximum loan size 500 lakhs, and maximum pay period 5 years, grace period. The history of it, and 2016 to 18, the loan distribution, the most wanted one is hair and beauty, but some we understand it is good education, cultural art. We need to more introduce one, develop one. We got some operational issues for awareness, this loan scheme for all country, and interest rate introduced for that, and time period they efficiency time period, and we want to publish the NVQ certificate, and the entrepreneurial development plan is needed, and we need 4 more follow-ups. The suggestion of that, we identified about lack of promotion campaign and lack of feedback. But in ministry, we have a graduate for 325 skill development official in every division secretariat. We can get from feedback then. Other suggestion, we want to this fund as a revolving fund and introduce various courses, not only the beauty culture, and we want to transfer this loan to manual system to automated system. Thank you for your kindness.
Thank you very much, the party delegates from Sri Lanka, for the presentation. Now we have very quick 2 presentations from the seminarians. So I'll request the first presenter, Mrs. Neelam Vishnoi from Government Women Polytechnic College, Jaipur, to give her presentation. Ma'am, I'll request if you can restrict it to 5 to 7 minutes. 4 to 5 minutes. Okay, thank you very much.
Good morning, Mr. Amit Das, Professor Dr. P.K. Tulsi, Dr. Dhaveja, and international and national delegates, and my students and my other friends. I am presenting my paper on academia and industry partnership. And my objective is that to have the for the betterment of youth, we have to bring together academia and industry, and there is a gap between the two. We have to bridge up that gap. You can see job searching is not an easy task, and for this, why it is not easy, we can see that industry and education both are not holding hands together, and they are far from each other. To nurture the future talent, industry will have to come together and closer to the academics. I have found that compared to practical knowledge, students are getting theoretical knowledge very much, and teachers generally focus on completing their syllabuses. And it is also demotivate sometimes them, which affect the education quality also. What students observe here, students think that a degree is sufficient to get a white collar job, and whatever they have learned is sufficient for their survival in the corporate world. Today, industry want students with a work attitude, their strong analytical power, listening ability, and very good communication skills. And industry also want that employees, whatever the employees they are getting, they should be dedicated and motivated and committed toward the industry. And what can be done? I have seen that interaction of students must be increased. There must be more workshop for the students, and students should also get involved in placement processes to have better understanding of industry. Academia industry collaboration is increasing day by day. We can see that IESA, HDFC, MHRD, etc. signed MOUs with different institutes in Kharagpur, Mumbai, and Madras, etc. Through the interface model of institute and industry, I've tried to explain that institutes must take their students for the industrial visits. Expert lectures should also be there. and provided this labor should be properly divided. Industry should give their better recruitment, HR consultancy, etc. should be there. And bridging the gap can be done by improving curriculum, and it must be finalized in consultation with the industries. With this diagram, we can see that the reaction of students, institutions, as well as industry. Result is, if collaboration is successful, then all the parties are benefited here. Students get the experience, university gets the grants, and organization gets access to high caliber students. Conclusion is, there is exist a positive effect among determinants of collaboration. University and industry collaboration is effective as it is working with another team or organization that have a perspective, skills, resources, etc. Recommendation I have given over here, there must be a maximum members with industry as well as academia in the team. Practical and theory percentage distribution should be 50-50 ratio, and faculty upgradation should also be there. Faculty upgradation program time to time should be done. And beside this, corporate interaction of student must be implemented. And finally, I want to say there must be a passion for teaching among the employees when they are into the college or such professions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for a very crisp presentation on the theme. Now I'll request the second presenter of the session, I think Madam Shilpi, from Jaipur, Infinity Surface Printing. Over to you, ma'am. Please. Before she starts, do we have Pallavi Pahuja and Ruby Sharma here? So, ma'am, you were not there in the beginning of the session? You have a presentation, ready with it? Okay. And we have Neeraj Simarjit Singh Baba. You are there given. Okay. Do we have Prerna Sharma from MCM TV College? Okay. So up to the coordinator, how do we go about? Give 2 to 3 minutes to them to get their major conclusions. Okay. Over to you, ma'am.
It's where? Sir, folder.
I think the media person kindly help.
Technical session?
Technical session 3.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. So this is. Respected Madam P.K. Tulsi, Amit Das sir, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to all. World famous for pink color is Pink City, and I came from there. Government Women's Polytechnic College, Jaipur is 2 times Best Polytechnic Award winner in Northern Region, and award was given by NITTTR Chandigarh in year 2001-2 and 2009-10, and that college is my workplace. In series of skilling for self-employment, my topic is infinite surface printing. India is a country with large population. In the word of Rashtrapita Mahatma Gandhi ji, the brain must be educated through the hand. The teacher must learn the craft and correlated his knowledge to the craft. The craft cannot be separated from education. To convert this vision into reality, India needs to create a skilled and productive workforce matching international standards of quality and productivity through integration of skills and training along with education. And India can become skill capital of India. But the youth is facing many problems to become a self-entrepreneur. Academic incapabilities, Technological inefficiencies, lack of practical knowledge, and poverty prevent youth from establishing self employment. So, today I am talking about the youth who are not able to cope up with the mainstream education because of economic reasons or academic incapabilities and not enough money to start a business. Introducing incomplete skill training at a young age will go a long way in directing these students to opportunities that will have a large impact on the general fabric of the workforce in the country. For the past few years, the printing business has been on the boom. The printing industry is broken into many smaller segments for printing processes, many mainly broken into 5 segments: post lithography, flexography, gravure, screen printing, digital. Commercial offset printing establishment make up the largest segment of the industry for about 40%. Infinite surface printing is hand screen printing because only screen printing can be done on all surfaces like jute, glass, plastic, metal, ceramics, lenticle surfaces, flat surfaces, etc. There are mainly 3 types of screen printing methods. First, hand printing, screen printing, semi-automatic screen printing, fully automatic screen printing in 2 types, flat and rotary. Screen printing is moving into another phase of growth in 21st century. Just some of the technologies that would not have been possible without screen printings are mobile phones, batteries, screen uh, flat screens, television, circuit boards, printed electronics, flexible circuit boards, thin film elements, etc. Nowadays, promotional products and customized printing is on huge demand all across the globe. So, hand screen printing is best option for self-employment. Educational background on the one hand and enter to success in self-employment on the other is complex and mixed. In case of infinity surface printing, a person can start his business with minimum requirement of following: 15 to 20,000 rupees is enough to start up. Single person can start his work from home in a very small area. It can be part-time or full-time business. This printing permit on almost any surface. It requires relatively cheap equipment with very few preliminaries. It can be print a single copy to 1,000 number of copies, comparatively cheap than other printing process. Surfaces to be printed need on Surface to be printed need not be flat. Ink used can be oiled, water, or lacquer, etc. With so many possibilities in increasing demand or customized printing increased, infinity surface printing requirement is in schools, sports, team, event planners, family events like wedding, birthdays, anniversaries, etc., restaurants and bar, political groups, concert, convention, craft fairs, utilities, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Teacher's Day, and etc. for many occasions. Possibilities are endless. Possibilities are endless. The only limitation on the continued growth of screen printing is the imagination of young people who are the creative and self-entrepreneur of the future. To become a successful entrepreneur in Infinity Surface Printing, a student must know a computer software skills for creating artworks, practical training in screen printing industry, brief functional business skills like finance, HR management, and research, brief relevant business knowledge like taxation and all, realistic awareness of the risk and benefit of self-employment. It is important to state that in recent time, for any person to continue to stay in business and grow, they must continue to come up with highly creative design concepts and advertising also. In I would conclude my topic by saying while technology is the lock, education is the key to unlock the numerous opportunities in infinity surface printing. Thank you.
Thank you very much for bringing to the focus one of the areas for entrepreneurship. Now, over to, I will request Pallavi and Ruby Sherman to make their presentation. And ma'am, please kindly restrict yourself to 5 to 7.
Sure. Unable to attach this. Can anyone help? A very warm good morning to everyone. Without taking much time, I will proceed with my topic, which is training the youth for innovation and self-employment. We've already discussed about this topic. I would just like to focus on the very crux area, that is innovation. I have worked on this area because innovation is the key, right? Training the youth for innovation. If they innovate, they are going to be on the right path. So let's see what training is. Training means to update the existing knowledge, skills, and abilities. We call it ASK concept, ask concept, abilities, skills, and knowledge, so that there is excellence in all these three areas. Whenever there is a case of entrepreneur who is doing very well, let's take the case of Zomato, Uber, or any other startup company, that is Flipkart. They all had innovated, and they all had one USP, unique selling proposition, and that's why they are there where they are. Like sir also just focused on this thing, right? So why it is important for us to innovate? Because there is a gap, there's a pipeline that can be filled between the desired outcome from the individuals, from the youths, and there is a gap between the actual thing that the youth is having. So to have them the right path, they need the training for innovation. So there are a few programs and models which are used by academic institutions and across the globe, which are economic gardening, innovation centers, incubators, and networks, and some clubs are also existing in particularly in academic institutions to promote this thing, right? So let's come to innovation training. So what do we basically need? We basically need three things. We need meaningful industry participation in skill training programs to ensure that proper and necessary skills are being taught, a clear standard and certification system. Like NITTTR is also having a few MOOC courses, and we have also enrolled in these MOOC courses because something is required beyond, and you don't have to be basic, you have to be above basics, right? So this is what is required. Benefits: what are the advantages of training for innovation? It increases your competitiveness. When you are innovative, you are more competitive, means you are your efficiency basically gives you more options. It lowers the cost and higher the quality of products, because when we see the industries which are into competitiveness, they always offer you quality products, right? So more efficient use of all the resources and improved staff retention. Innovative strategies can also help us to make the job more challenging, and people like to perform these jobs. If the job gets monotonous, nobody likes to perform it, right? So proactive approach to business, because once you are innovative, your approach, your mindset becomes proactive.
greater attraction of new customers. Obviously, if your product is innovative, this is what happened with Nokia. Nokia just died in one night because there was Android rising the next day. So innovation is the mother of all the things today. And let's also have a look at what are the barriers why youth does not want to innovate. Even if I'm a part of the organization, even if I'm starting my own business, what stops me from being innovative is fear. You always have a fear of unknown, that maybe this might not be a success, might be this new idea will just be a failure and people might laugh at me. So this can be one factor. Second thing is short term thinking. We believe that the result should be I'll just take few seconds to narrate you one very simple example. My own sister, she has started her wedding planning venture, and when she started, we were like, yaar, profit to ho nahi raha. We were very conscious that when will you stop taking money from us? And let me tell you, it takes 7 to 8 months at least to reach some minimal break-even point. And it is very she's in 6 months period of time, she could easily get her break-even. And it is all about keeping the spirit high, because the result doesn't come the next morning. It takes some time. So once you have a flatter vision, we call it a long-term concept. So it is not a short-term concept. You might not be having resources, so this is what we require from the side of government, from MHRD or from other incubators, that there should be some platform where they can be incubated. And most of the people are risk aversion in nature, so that's why they don't innovate. And unwillingness to acknowledge and learn from past failures. Actually, past failures, they become a path hole in our path, so we cannot actually innovate. No creative thinking training. We are lacking this training, right? So suggestions are very simple suggestions I have incorporated, that it is not a one-way process, it's a stakeholding process. We involve teachers, we involve incubators, we involve these all these parties together. They can do something for the nation and for the youth of the nation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Now we'll have the quick last presentation. If we have Prerna from MCMTB College, please.
Good morning, Chair and my fellow friends. The topic I have selected is improvising employment through restructuring curriculum and skill education. I start with the importance of education. We all know education is the passport to the future. It is a foundation on which our future is based. In the traditional times, we know the education was a process of acquiring knowledge, value, ethics. But in the modern times, besides these factors, it has to be associated with the employment. And to some extent, I can say that an education which does not provide a job to the student is considered useless in the modern era. Now, as far as the objective of employment is concerned, what does it do? It provides the livelihood opportunities to the youth, improves the income and standard of living, not only for him, but for their families and the economy. Now, current scenario. What is the current scenario? That is, there is a link which is between education and employment that is missing. According to the survey, Indian students are educated but not employable, as more than 64% students are not employment ready. According to SOCAM, only 20% of 5 million graduates get jobs. So what is happening is the country is facing a dual challenge of shortage of trained qualified labor on one hand and non-employability of educated and trained workforce on the other. So what is the need of the hour? What the need of the hour is that we have focus should be shifted from the education to the skill employment. Then the focus from the standardized curriculum to the enterprise-based training or vocational training. as we can see that most of the youths, they are facing unemployment not due to the education but due to the lack of skills required for facing competition in this modern technology world. So these are some of the objectives of my paper. Now, as far as skill development, I think we all know what is skill development. Now, what does it do? We know that it helps in stimulating sustainable development, upgradation of skills, minimizing the employer-employee gap, and self-entrepreneurship. Various programs run by the government, Pradhan Mantri Kushal Vikas Yojana, and Udan, and so on. These are some of the organizations. Now, the problems faced by the skill development initiatives. First of all, we have the complicated setup of ITIs. We have long list of ITIs, but then there is so much complexity in that the students are not able to find out that which where to contact and which area they have to go. Then we know there is a insufficient infrastructure given the 3.5 million are trained along with the new entrants every year. There is a mismatch of demand and supply, and then of course skill development for women, and then very important is the training of the trainers, the trainers who are providing education, the skill education, they also have to be trained from time to time. And then there is a lack of labor market information system. Again, we do not have any platform that where these youths they can go and contact, and of course the private sector participation. Now the next part is the restructuring curriculum of the colleges. Now we all know what is this curriculum, but as far as Mr. Davis in his book, he said he discussed the curriculum, and he said the classical theory initially, I mean the older days, the student was the learner and he was as a passive receiver. But in the modern approach, as it is highlighted, that it goes further and assumes the students are decision makers and problem solvers. So this is the current scenario. And as Mr. Narendra Yadav, he said that the quality of teaching in our campuses is outdated and they do not follow the latest market demands. That means we are given syllabi which has been made, let's say 10 years back, 20 years back. No doubt there have been certain changes, but are those changes catered to the industry? That is a question. So we talk about the increasing funds, increasing infrastructure, but there is no improvement in the content. And then academic reforms are needed for paradigm shift in the higher education. Now, as far as challenges are concerned, so there is, as we can see, there is a total disconnection between the education system and job requirement. So there is a need to renew curriculum at all levels of education, and it has to be, the syllabus has to be kept with the fast changing business needs like soft skills, new technology, etc. Then this is the role of teacher, we all know. Then recommendations for curriculum. Recommendations for curriculum, again, as many of have discussed, it has to be industry linked. Then the practical based classes or experimental projects. Then industrial visits that we often do have, workshops, and of course the applied learning. So all these we know that they have to be implemented, but how and to what extent we are implementing, then again it is a question. Then recommendations for curriculum. There are 4 people who are majorly involved in this. First is the people in authority. I would say the people who are in the position of guiding the higher education policies and education framework, they should be dynamic and ready to introduce changes, right? Then the second is faculty. Faculty, I would say kindly, we all have to come out of our comfort zone. That's the only thing we can do. Then the students should not depend upon the degrees, as we have seen that most of the students are coming with only their degrees, but they do not have any employment potential. And then the industry, that is their role is minimizing the gap between the two. Then the recommendations for skill development. In spite of the government efforts in creating so many opportunities, still we need a robust workforce. Government has been doing, we have seen all the number of ITIs and different institutions, different programs run by the government, but still there is a gap. And that's why we need a robust workforce for this. Then especially for unorganized sector and unbenchmarked sectors, like construction, agriculture, etc. We need a skill education. Then of course the monitoring and quality certification to ensure higher standards. It is not yes, we have given you ITIs, you are given this vocational training and that's it. No, then something has to be done regarding the monitoring and quality certification. That means, okay, is the education, the skill education we are providing, the objective behind the skill education, is it being passed on to the students? Are they getting the benefits from that? Then the socio-economic empowerment of women. Yes, of course, this is another aspect, and the career counseling at the town or district level. Because we live in the urban areas, we have access to the counseling, we have access to the different people, but then at the smaller town and the district level, this has to be there. Then, very important in the last, converting this growing young population to employable. So India is at a very interesting stage of its demographic dividend. More than 60% of our population is in the working age group, which is expected to cross by 65% by 2036. And thus, there is a great opportunity for us in front of us, but only if leveraged properly. So we should not be scared of the growing population. We should be, we should take it in a positive stride, and we should have a maximum workforce out of that. And so the participation from the government and the private sectors is required. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No, I think we have already run out of the time, but a very quick question to the keynote speaker, Mr. Amit Das. He has been sitting with us throughout the session. So if anybody wants to have a question, please go ahead. None? Okay. So thank you very much. I think I'll just conclude the session. The technical session 3, which was we had listened to 3 country presentations from Philippines, Myanmar, and Sri Lanka, and we had 5 presentations in this session on the various aspects related to the skill development. Now, when we come to the title of this very conference, Skilling for Self-Employment, any student who is graduating from any system, whether it's diploma, degree, or a person from the vocational school, has 3 options. The person can go for wage employment, can go for higher education, or the person can go for self-employment. And the session started with a note, what is the difference between the self-employed person and an entrepreneur? And very aptly, Mr. Amit Das has brought the difference between the two, that many of the people, that is less than 1% who opt for entrepreneurship, actually are self-employed, self-driven employment, and it has nothing to do with entrepreneurship. So when we talk about entrepreneurship, you have listened to the presentations. Government has made number of policies, but what is lacking? Most of the delegates here belong to the technical vocational education training system, and the teachers from the general education, where also the vocational courses have been now introduced. In my opinion, what I feel is the total teaching, learning, and evaluation system needs radical changes, because the connotation which was attached to learning has changed over a period of time. It is the construction of knowledge which a learner makes. It is not, he is not at the receiving end. And the whole teaching strategies which we adopt are conventional. Most of us are banking upon the methods which do not aim at developing these soft skills or the employability skills which are expected of the people, or the skills which make a person competent to enter into the entrepreneurial activity. It's a very spoon-feeding kind of instruction that take place. So can we think of bringing changes in the teaching learning strategies by shifting our focus to active learning strategies? That is the question which we need to ponder upon and answer and bring a required change. When it comes to even evaluation, the various studies which we have carried out, 80 to 85% of the questions they assess only remembering and understanding. When it comes to application, higher-than application, that is problem solving, we are not giving any opportunity to our students to enter into that arena. Not in the classroom, not in the examination. So where do we expect that they will develop problem solving ability? Projects which are taken up, the question before us is, are they really dealing with real life problems, the problems faced by the industry, or are they taking up the projects which are mundane, routine kind of activities and submitting? Do the students get an opportunity to get into experiential learning whereby they can develop managerial skills, they can develop risk taking, delegating the task, communicating to the people, managing the ventures, and there are numbers of examples which are available where the students can be provided experiential learning. We need to explore those kind of opportunities for our students so that they acquire the skills which are required to manage the enterprises, manage the ventures. I would also further substantiate that wherever I have seen these papers being presented in the conferences, a lot of literature which is accessible is not being assessed by the authors. You have All India Council for Technical Education, CII, ASSOCHAM, FICCI, at the country level, at the international level, you have Asia Pacific, you have ADB, World Bank, you have NPIU's units which are set up. Then you have ILO, which are coming out with the latest reports on the skills. Because when I looked at the papers and I went through the literature, there was no connection between it. So I would request, rather than duplicating the effort, the work which has already been carried out, let's now as teachers, as the implementers of the policy, try to find out where the action is required, where the gap exists, and where we can make a dent and bring a radical change in our curriculum, in our teaching learning processes, in our evaluation, and the kind of exposure which we provide to our students, and develop those skills, as has rightly been said, 21st century skills, which you talk about communication, creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, networking, etc., which are of dire, or I would say paramount importance in today's world. Thank you very much for your participation in the technical session 3. We'll go for the tea break, which has been delayed, and you will have the opportunity to interact with the keynote speaker as well as the presenter of the papers. And if you would like to prolong the discussion, do it during the tea time. Over to Dr. S. Dhanuja for the announcement.
Thank you so much, madam. Since the session co-chair has to go for a meeting, let me thank the session chair, Professor P.K. Tulsi, for conducting this session in a very timely and very efficient manner. Thank you so much, ma'am. And thanks to our keynote speaker, Mr. Amit Das, for his very wonderful presentation in the morning. So we are quite late, we are almost 1 hour late, running 1 hour late. So what we will do is we will have a quick tea, coffee break, and then we have a plenary session. In the plenary session, we have got the 3 groups. Like yesterday, we had 2 groups, and today we had 1 group. So they'll meet together at one point, and they'll make the draft recommendations. So based on the papers presented by them in the group number 1, group number 2, group number 3, so they will make the draft recommendations. So since there's no time to go out of this room and go to some other rooms because it will take more time, so we will have those sessions here only. So maybe group number 1 can sit over here, group number 2 can sit over there, and 3 can sit maybe a little at the back. Because if we shift after the coffee, tea, because we have no time. At 1 we have to go for the lunch break. 1 to 2 is the lunch break in the guest house, where everybody, all of you are invited for the lunch. And then at 2, exactly at 2, we have got the closing ceremonies. So right now we are going for a tea break. We are reassembling at 12:15, a 20 minutes tea break. 12:15 to 1 o'clock, we will have the the drafting of the recommendations by the 3 different groups, and we have the 3 session coordinators also. So 3 faculty members from this institute, they will be session coordinators who will be coordinating those 3 groups basically, and arriving at the draft recommendations. Okay. So thank you so much, and let us break for the tea coffee. Thank you so much. please. So I will suggest that every paper presenter can give 1 or 2 recommendations based on his or her paper. 1 to 2 recommendations based on his or her paper. That's all. Just compile them and make the group present and make the group recommendations, please. The participants who are not making any presentation, they can divide, please. They can sit either in group number 1 or 2 or 3. Please do not sit idle. Actually, we have no time to go to the classrooms. So that is okay.
Okay, I'm fine. Then we can start. Because running short of time.
Yes, running short of time.
I'm not the boss, sir, but we are running short of time. You've been pushing us throughout the whole session. So somebody have to take charge.
Yes. The session 1 people, they can sit here also. Session 2, they can sit here also. Session number 2, you can sit here also. You can have face to face also. Session number 2. Yes, they can sit over here. You can have face to face interaction.
100% can write down our time. Yes. Okay. Okay.
Sit here. Just face to face. You can sit over here.
We have 11 papers from national delegates and 4 from.
So 15 papers, so you can have at least 1 recommendation per paper. So 50 recommendations. It can be more than 15 also, but at least 1 per paper. So I think we can have a small, so you can just write one recommendation. I think what we are one person is writing. So 1 by 1 you can take your recommendation, and then he can write for you. Somebody can write for you.
First was from Maldi. What paper was from Maldi? Are we taking notes or somebody's going to type it on his laptop? How does it going to work now?
Yes, please.
And you, the coordinator, you have to take charge of the whole thing.
No, you have to tell the recommendation. You have to present.
No, we are just, are we going to write it on the paper or are we going to take it?
Paper wise and each
What we are assigned to do, every presenter from their country perspective, they will raise, formulate one recommendation.
1 or 2 recommendations.
Okay, I'm giving you mine now. Can just write down or you want to type it?
You can just write on, but I'm writing my mind. I'm consulting my own.
What you are required to do is to promote entrepreneurship through skilling. So can you or self-employment through skilling? What should be done? That's the thing that the recommendation. Please stop your speaking. One second.
Yeah.
Online.
So what do you first? You can speak up, then we can rephrase it. So you can write establish industry collaboration, information
Okay, okay. I would like to recommend. No, please do write down. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Please speak of all should know. Let me speak of first recommendation is setting up innovation centers, yes. Second is training of trainers, competent counseling, entrepreneurship, the requirement is for the trainers to be trained by entrepreneurs or subject matter experts instead of it is to enhance their skills instead of what they have learned in the institution. So they need to be having what you say, they need to have the experiential learning from the industry. Come again? Exposure from the industry should be there. Yeah, that is for the trainers. So they can bring it back to this institution to train the trainers by the NITTTRCHD, especially the subject matter experts, so subject matter experts on top of what they have learned in the institution.
By the industry.
Yes.
By the industry.
For them to come back to the institution and then they can retrain the students. Because whatever knowledge you have, you might be learning in the university, but you couldn't train it.
This is not entrepreneurship, it is for the employees.
No, because at the end of the day, if you're going to teach the students, you need to have the experiential, the skills. If you are learning, if you're going to teach the student based on what you learn in the textbook, that is does not fulfill the needs of them.
More business should be
Training and exposure in the industry for the trainers. As a need for exposure, of industries,
Exposure of the industry, of the industry.
Yeah.
This is industry.
And also, which can be done through, and also can be like elaborating with suitable industry. You can bring the industry into campus, you can bring the
collaboration.
Yeah, you can bring the people from the people from the institution to the industry.
involvement and
in the industry, irrespective Obviously, the various skill training institutes will No, I don't want the skill training. Doesn't work. I want the industry. Exactly. Yeah.
If you want industry without collaboration, without how should you?
No, they should be. Because that is the ultimate outcome. If you do a collaboration, after the collaboration, these are the things that you need to work out with the industry, isn't it?
Until you
Listen. Of this development country, not your
Government side is
not all the institutes
सर पॉइंटर तो है वो पेन ड्राइव नहीं लगी
Okay, if you want to say, then what is
अच्छा
the
सर
outcome of the collaboration with them?
हाँ जी सर
It's not like
वैसे सर सामने है वो जो है जिनकी सर वो थे नहीं जो सुबह हाँ जी
they are your fish tell them that this is
नहीं सर
looking forward working with you. So I'm hoping that you will come on board to support me some of the initiatives that I have. For example, if you I will
ठीक है सर
really
कहाँ पे
appreciate
आप
that if you can train someone on that in
ठीक
in
ठीक
entrepreneurship because you're a successful CEO. This is what
ठीक है मैं
I don't know. I'm sorry, maybe that doesn't work in Bangladesh and India, but because that's how we do it in Malaysia. So I'm sharing my perspective.
In India, many skill training institutes are also upfront in training of maybe that's not the case.
Yes, we do. We do that.
No, let me be clear. Introduction is okay. You please write on her idea.
This is a recommendation. This is the best practice that I have. Ma'am, if I may.
So there is a need for trainers.
Need for exposure to industry to the trainers.
That is after collaboration. So that the trainers can undertake training.
Yes, we have what's called industry structural internship. Train. What was the sentence again? What did you type?
Trained by the industry.
Yes.
We trained by
That is what you want. Wouldn't it go if you have somebody attached to the CEO can learn the trick of the trade and come back and impart the knowledge?
Next, please.
Why is it so complicated? Is it very so complicated?
Yeah.
Next, please. Yeah. What are your recommendations? There is a need of educational institutions as well as local government bodies to collaborate with different NGOs and NFSs who promote women skill training. That is there's a need for education.
थोड़ा ज्यादा टफ हो गया ना
किधर
उधर तो नहीं ज्यादा चला गया
Come forward and collaborate or an assessment. To impart skill-based training, skill-based hands-on training,
Mona?
training,